What it is? How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the First Ones to Die podcast. We got a whole show filled for you today. We're going to do a whole retro review of the Santa Claus Christmas classic coming right at you. You're going to hear us talk about all the things. Talk about Santa Claus, crap, boyfriends of ex-wives, kids that don't know how to mind their own business, all types of stuff. So if you want to hear what we have to say, sit back, relax, grab a snack, grab a beverage, and listen on in to the First Ones to Die.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the First Ones to Die podcast. What is going on? It's been a minute. It's been a minute since you've seen us or heard us if you're listening to us on audio. By the way, rate us 5 stars if you choose, if you're listening to us on your favorite podcast
That's right.
platform.
Been gone for a whole month. First thing we do is like beg for likes.
We got
We
Beg
gotta
for
get
make up
mobile
for
again.
lost
We
time.
gotta get mobile again. Yeah.
Exactly. Our audience is probably like, did they die? Like, where are they at? So
They did. They kept telling us with their title of their podcast, but we didn't believe them.
Ironically, though, going back, it's actually the Polar Express. So it's around this time we became the first ones to die, and it's in the Polar Express children's movie why we explain that title.
Fitting. So speaking of death, the holiday season. I'm just kidding. Okay. Jerome, Alex, how are y'all doing? Alex, how you doing?
Okay, my hair's a little frizzy. Trying to get control of that. But other than that, I'm good. Nothing too exciting going around. It is my sister's birthday today, or at the time we are recording this. It is my sister's birthday, so special happy birthday to her. I'm going
Happy
over
birthday,
to see
Christian.
her. I'm going over to see her tomorrow.
Yeah, happy birthday. I saw that on Facebook, actually.
Yeah, I found a lovely song for her. And I got her a birthday cake that says congrats on surviving another year. Because I find it so boring to just say happy birthday. But yeah, I'm going to spend the day with her tomorrow, which is really nice. I took off of work, so because we haven't really gotten to spend as much time as we usually like this past year. So I was like, might as well with the holiday season coming up. So
Nice.
How are you guys doing?
I'm doing good. Yeah, same, working. I was telling you guys on the podcast, David, or before we started recording, that David Dobrik came to my job as a visitor. So that was interesting. That was cool to see. I didn't know who his friends were, but I helped them out to the elevator. And then one of our supervisors, she was like, "That's so-and-so." I was like, oh, I didn't realize.
Doesn't he change like pack members every certain amount of times?
I would not know.
Yeah,
But I've heard its pizza is good. I've heard it's good.
Never tried it. But I'm also a pizza snob, so. When do you start your Stranger Thing experience?
It started like a month ago.
Oh, okay. Well, you were gone. That's right. That's one of the reasons we had taken a little bit of a break.
So yeah, if you're in LA or Montebello, that's what I've been doing weekends and some evenings. The Stranger Things experience. Come check it out. Come visit. It's a lot of fun and it's really cool. And it's going till February for sure, but possible extension.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Jerome.
Just been surviving, doing stuff. Been writing a lot, and then also watching a lot of movies. I've seen The Menu. I've seen Glass Onion, Wakanda Forever. Just so many movies. It's been great. It's been a fun time. Excited for so many other movies coming out, especially because we had a huge batch of trailers that dropped a while ago. I was excited about the Game Awards. Those were cool. Congratulations to Elden Ring. It was a tight race between Elden Ring and God of War. I would have chosen God of War, me personally, but I'm not mad Elden Ring won it because Elden Ring was also pretty dope too, even though I didn't get to play it. But God of War Ragnarok did finish that, beat it. It was dope. It was a lot of fun. If you haven't played it and you played the first one, play God of War Ragnarok. If you haven't played the first one, just play God of War Ragnarok anyway, because it's a good game. And especially for those days when you want to smash something, just take control of the Kratos and smash everything. Because the man doesn't know how to do anything without doing it with the ultimate amount of force at all times.
Yeah.
I
said
yeah.
it like I know.
But overall, it's just been a pretty relaxing few days, relaxing time. I went home for Thanksgiving also, so that was cool. So it's nice to be back in South Carolina for a little bit and just see my old stomping ground and stuff. So it's been good.
Nice. Oh, Alex, I also forgot to say that Danny Trejo was at work as well this weekend. It was for a private event, but I got to see him dance, and he was
actually
He's out here passing
I saw
donuts.
your Instagram. I saw your Instagram and I saw that. So I knew. I tried.
You saw the donuts.
Yeah, and I tried not to be like, "Hey, why did you not tell me Danny Trejo was there?"
Was he just out here like?
It was
trying to live his life.
It was a private like event. But he was a guest at the event.
What was he doing? The dance from Wednesday that everybody's all talking about from this show? I've not seen it.
I have not seen it either. But I don't think it was the dance. You know what dance is lit though? The dance from Matilda. I've been seeing it on
my God,
TikTok.
yeah, with the music redone too. Missy Elliott. It's the Missy Elliott song that they're using.
Well, there's been a couple songs that they've been using, like that song, and there's one more.
I've only some, but it's on beat. Like those kids are on beat.
Mm-hmm.
And then I heard the real song for it. I was like, oh, like those moves are too good for that song.
Right.
Like how are you gonna choose those lyrics and then like those moves, and it's like it's totally
Thinking
off.
of music, also Taylor Swift has taken over the world once again. So be on the lookout. Like, be careful. Lord Taylor is out here.
Were you about to call her a dictator?
A little bit. All right, she rules the world right now. People are still listening to Midnight as we speak.
I do. I get all the feels from Taylor. She makes us feel things.
It's true.
Listen, people out here, she was waiting for people to be worried about Disney and Amazon, but really we should have been worried about Taylor Swift.
Wow.
Not even Queen SZA can stop her. She just put out her album.
Speaking of TikTok sounds, that SZA sound we were also talking about before the podcast, the I Need a Big Boy, that sound.
Oh, yeah.
That song is just like, it gets you in the mood. And I saw a TikTok today that was like, not me trying to search for an hour for this SZA song on her latest album.
Also, Jonathan, how come you didn't tell us that your boss was pregnant? What the hell was that about?
Lord,
you work for her your entire life, and you go tell us
she kept it private. Pregnant? And I don't want to be telling her business like that. So,
did she do the pregnancy announcement where she just like opens up her shirt and shows her belly?
Yeah, she basically said like, there's been a lot of rumors and stuff, and I'm here to set the record straight. I am, and then she busts open the jacket.
I do love it when they do that, because it's just like you see them and they look like, okay, it's your average body, and then they just turn around to the side and go like, ha. It's funny enough, like, hold on, it's almost like, and I don't mean this to sound mean. I think it's cute and funny, but almost like when the Grinch is trying on outfits and he does that like ooh and that lean back and his like his belly protrudes like that. It kind of reminds me of that because they do that lean. They're pregnant. Probably needs back support.
Well, I don't know how to transition from pregnancy to Santa Claus.
Well, speaking of growing bellies, let's talk about.
There we go. Okay,
Santa Claus.
He got you that one, Jonathan.
Yeah, you did. The Santa Claus, we are doing a retro review of the classic film from what year was it?
This
From
was from
94.
94.
Year I was born. From 94. If you haven't seen the Santa Claus, which shame, but it is about a man who
Well, you might be too young to have seen the Santa Claus, all right? This is
still
Christmas classic
shame
for us.
Well, now they got the new series, so there's no excuse for you to miss out on any of the Santa Claus universe. But when a man inadvertently makes Santa fall off his roof on Christmas Eve, he finds himself magically recruited to take his place. It stars, of course, Tim Allen as the titular character, Eric Lloyd, Wendy Crewson, Judge Reinhold, David Krumholtz, and a lot of other people whose names I'm not familiar with.
I just love you just said as the titular character of Scott Calvin.
No, he plays Santa
Christmas
Claus.
legend.
I mean, you're not wrong entirely.
Okay, he starts off as Scott Calvin, but then he transforms into Santa Claus.
There's a scene where he does recite all the different ways Santa Claus is pronounced. Saint Nicholas.
Pierre Noel.
Yeah, Pierre Noel. So there are different names for him.
This being a retro review, audience, just so you know, we're just going to go right into the movie, all right? So if you haven't seen Santa Claus and you want to see it, pause this, go watch that it's on Disney Plus. Right? In fact, the whole series is on Disney Plus right now. So you can watch Santa Claus 1, 2, 3, and the new one, and just watch all of it, and then come back and listen to the rest of this. But we're just going to go full spoilers ablazing because the movie's from 1994, all right? If you haven't watched it already, you probably weren't going to watch it anyway.
I have to say, the first thing that I was thinking of when I was watching this was not the elves, the reindeer. They really held up. Like the animation.
Not entirely. There were some times where I was like, oh, there's that 90s, there's those 90s CG graphics right there.
When he went down the chimney, I'll give you that.
I remember that being so much. The sleigh left the roof for the first time. It just has that like slow frame rate where it's just doot, 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 and it just flies up. I was like, oh boy, but it's a product of its time, so I don't hold it against the movie. I'm like, that's how good graphics were back then. Back then, that looked great.
I remember that scene when he was going down the chimney and he gets sucked into the chimney that's not actually a chimney. I remember that being so much cooler as a kid.
I know.
Reminded me of Halloween Town.
Yeah, I did that. It had just moments where the kid Charlie annoyed me a little bit because he did not listen at all. That I was like, stay there, and he just wanders off with strangers. Like, did nobody teach you stranger danger? Because that was a huge thing in the 90s.
I wasn't less annoyed with Charlie and more annoyed with the parents because I was like, let me get this straight. Like, and I'm glad they do address it though in the script where I'm like, I'm sorry, are y'all upset that this dad is just allowing his son to believe he's Santa Claus? Where's the danger?
Right.
He's 8. He's at least 7.
No. It was the belief that he was Santa.
He is Santa. If you want to go on the realistic point, like not in the literal sense of this movie. I mean, if Santa Claus doesn't exist, our parents were Santa. They buy all the presents.
You know what?
Technically, they are Santa.
I had this thought. And I always think about this every time I watch a movie where they're like, Santa doesn't exist, blah, blah, blah. We make up and lie. However, Santa always does exist. And it's like, oh, magical. Wouldn't the parents who just have yelled at the child that Santa doesn't exist notice the extra presents under the tree that they did not buy?
And shouldn't they be calling the police if they realize that there are suspicious objects under their tree that they don't know about?
That the wrapping paper doesn't match my other wrapping paper. So it's like, but the thing is, isn't that like always a thing where they're like, oh, Santa is, and they're like, oh, suddenly there's Santa, and I believe too. Where the fuck did those presents come from then?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Santa just like sprinkles some dust on them, and then they just like remember going to the Toys R Us real quick to buy those presents. Remember Toys R Us? I just remember the Toys R Us doesn't exist anymore.
Oh my gosh!
Just so you know, for those who don't remember, Toys R Us is a old toy store. It used to be a child's wet dream. All right, it was a toy store that was like the Walmart for toy stores. You would go in there,
like
and there'd be toys for thousands of days. You know what I'm trying to say? There'd be toys lining the walls. There'd be so many toys. It'd be great. Toys R Us where you would go.
Anytime your parents said we're going to Toys R Us, it was about to go down.
You knew it was on. It was just like, oh shoot, we're going to Toys R Us on purpose. We're getting something. It's like we're getting something. I got to make sure I know exactly what I want because she's gonna ask me, and then I got to make sure I get the right answer.
The last U.S. store of Toys R Us closed in 2021, so just last year. But they started closing.
Aren't they trying to like revive it? And because I've seen it, I think on like TikTok or something.
I know Canada still has them, but apparently in 2017 and 2018 they closed all US, or they started closing all US, British, and Australian locations. I do know they still exist in Canada.
Well, I feel like they would bring it back because nothing's replaced it. Do you guys know of any toy stores that have been? I mean, I guess technically Amazon in a way, but I mean like a physical store.
There is still in New York. Is FAO Schwartz still a thing?
Oh yeah, there's like that giant toy store like in the middle of like Times Square or something.
Which Amazon was probably what put Toys R Us out of business because it's just like why go to Toys R Us when you can order any toy you want like in the comfort of your home.
In May 2009, Toys R Us Inc. acquired FAO Schwartz, but in 2015 it permanently closed the Fifth Avenue store.
Oh.
Yeah, it was that huge toy store that you would see that like would be in movies. I think it's in Big. The dance piano scene in Big. I said that. That's where FAO Schwartz. Oh, did you already say that?
Yeah. You were searching toy stores. Yeah, I guess you're right. But there's a toy store literally not as like warehouse big, but there's a toy store like less than a block from me. So there are toy stores.
There's tons of little toy stores. Yeah. I just mean like a warehouse
brands
like,
or
brand of toy stores
like,
that's like
major companies.
Yeah, like a grocery store level toy store. But you know,
what's the one in malls? It's like has initials KD something or
KB?
KB Toy. Is it KB Toys?
I think it's KB Toys.
I mean, there's Go Toys.
KB Toys. It says was an American chain of mall, but I guess it doesn't exist anymore.
So moving on from these depressing topics.
But yeah, I mean, I think
they stopped in 2009, 13 years ago. I'm sorry.
But that's probably how they did it. You know, that's how Santa does it. He just gives them like amnesia or something, or false memories, implants them. I mean, this is a very elaborate system. They've got literally a SWAT team of elves for in case Santa gets arrested with like Mission Impossible level gadgetry with jetpacks and tinsel that can cut through steel. It's like, so I'm just saying it's possible they have like mind altering abilities.
That's horrifying though. Isn't that horrifying? I'm gonna go to sleep and this man who breaks into my house to give my children gifts is going to alter my memories and thoughts.
Well, you know what's also horrifying?
Here's the thing, you don't believe in him anyway, so what's it matter?
You know what's also horrifying is the fact that if a Santa gets hit by a car or if a Santa like accidentally falls off a roof, then the person who is traumatized enough to find them just has to take on, not only they have to take on the guilt and the PTSD of witnessing Santa die, but they also have to take on the responsibility for the rest of their life of being Santa Claus.
Objection, Your Honor. They don't have to stay on that responsibility. If you look at the Santa Claus, it says that as long as they do not put on the suit and ride in the reindeer and the sleigh and deliver the presents, they do not need to take on the responsibility of Santa Claus.
But the next clause was also they had to be forced into marriage to stay Santa Claus. So after
they put on the suit. If they don't put on the suit, they don't have to marry this woman.
You finally give in and you're like, I can be Santa Claus. Okay, now you need to get married and have children, by the way.
Well, you don't have to have children. You just have to get married. Just have to have him as Claus.
That's still not great.
What do you mean? What? So it's bad that you got to go find someone to fall in love with?
Yeah,
That's like
you
the
shouldn't
dream for
have-
most
You
people on the
shouldn't have
planet.
to go and find somebody to keep my job. I shouldn't have to go find somebody and marry them.
Some people
That
get
doesn't sound great.
some people get married on the job. I'm just saying, it happens.
He did. He literally got married like a second. I hit my mic. He got married a second before he had to get on that sleigh to deliver the presents. So he
She
did
wasn't
get married
from
on the
his job. He no, I mean people who get married, like who work, you work with. Like, no, he married a random lady who was a principal of a school or
A
whatever.
random lady then took him up to his area in the North Pole where she's completely isolated from everybody with only elves
She's
around.
got plenty of friends. All them elves, and they've been around for thousands of years. They probably got plenty of conversation to have. They can tell her all about what it was like when Cleopatra was around, or Caesar's rule
They
and
don't
stuff.
To these
the
elves,
North Pole.
to these elves, the reason why they're so nonchalant around Santa is because this is just another. They live for thousands and thousands of years. This Santa's only going to live for like 80 to 100, if
Someone
that.
did bring that up though, of like, who was the last man that was Santa? Was it regular Santa, or was it another person who also killed Santa and had to put on the suit?
It was
to replace
probably
him?
that because when Bernard first introduces, or when Bernard first talks to Santa, he's acting like you just another one of these Santas. Put on the suit, do the job, leave me alone. So I feel like this is a normal occurrence. Like these Santas die often, or it just feels like it's so often to these elves because they have such a long lifespan. So it's a short time for these Santas, but yeah.
Let's get into the logistics though, because if Scott's gonna live for like decades upon decades, that's like the dark reboot of this franchise, that Scott's existed now for like hundreds of years, and he's seen his entire family and bloodline like die out, and now he's just like, I just deliver presents now. There's no more joy in it. Ever since Charlie and Charlie's children and Charlie's children's children have died, and now I'm just a miserable old man delivering presents.
I love seeing Bernard again. He was one of my first crushes. So cute.
I feel like that was the thing back then. Everybody was always obsessed with Bernard.
He's so cute. I don't know how
He's
to
the
go,
only thing I
remember more about
remembered
your Jerome.
outside of Tim Allen.
So I'm just moving
outside
on to
of Tim Allen, I didn't remember. Like Bernard was the only other part I remembered. As soon as I saw him, I was like, "Oh yeah, Bernard."
I remembered the scene where Santa Claus. I remembered Bernard. I remembered where he's cussing out the kid because the kid wants him to drink the glass of milk. And I remembered.
I resonated with that scene.
And I remembered
You're supposed to drink the milk. You're supposed to be asleep, but I guess we can't all do what we're supposed to do. Now ain't that right? Shut up and accept these free presents.
He was really like aggressive with that child. If you think about it, he was like, "Go to sleep. You want the doll?" The way he also said that, "Do you want the doll or not?" And then he throws it at the tree.
I love when he just throws it at the tree. It's a tree just shakes. So it's like, dang, Santa got an attitude. I'll give you a goddamn doll. Matter of fact.
I remembered more of the movie than I anticipated. Because I kind of forgot it. And then I watched it. I was like, oh yeah, I remember this. Like I remembered almost everything.
Mm-hmm. You know what? I forgot. Well, I guess it's a thing of like getting older and having a new perspective on the movie. But I feel like when I was a kid, I always thought that Scott Calvin was like this bad guy, this bad dad. But watching the movie this time, he wasn't a bad dad at all. Like he was, if anything, he was like a good. He was the one that tried to keep Santa alive for the kid when his ex-wife was like, no, we told him that Santa wasn't real. Like I feel like
that their belief in Santa is based off of, well, he didn't give me that present that one time, so then I stopped believing in Santa. Maybe Santa was busy. You don't know. You don't know what it is like to be Santa.
Maybe you didn't get bad that year. Maybe you were just bad that year. How about that?
I was prepared because the whole time, every time everyone kept, especially that scene when the judge is there and he's like taking away Scott's visitation rights. I wanted Scott to be like, you know what? Forget y'all. Everybody getting cold this year. You. Charlie's okay. Everybody's getting cold. It's gonna be a cold Christmas in this bitch. I'm tired of it. Y'all gonna disrespect Santa? Y'all gonna do Santa like this? Especially the cops. He should have done that to the police. At that point, he believed. So,
by the way, the cops still out here traumatizing everybody because they're arresting Santa in front of children. Children are like, no, and they're still just putting Santa. They can't be like, go away, children, or like something. They're doing it right in front of them.
Don't worry, Santa. As soon as you get to the prison, you're gonna be a ho 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 all the way. Get in this car.
It's always the kids that know what's right and wrong in these movies. Have you noticed that it's always the kids that are always the moral compass?
They don't know that when to leave Santa alone, though. It ain't even Christmas. He's just enjoying watching a soccer game of his son. And that little girl walk up talking about I want ballerina shoes. I am off duty. I am trying to enjoy my son playing soccer.
That was also weird because I just thought about this too when I was watching the movie. Afterwards, he has to live at the North Pole the rest of his life and blah, blah, blah. But that first year, they let him live just like...
Yeah, they didn't explain that.
No, they did. Yeah. Bernard was like, he only let him go that year to get his affairs in order. He was like, you have a year to get your affairs in order. That's what he said to him verbatim. He's like, you have a year to get your affairs in order. I don't
remember him saying get affairs.
When he's leaving, just before he leaves, he's like, because, Bernard's rushing through everything. He's like, you have a year to get your affairs in order, and then we expect you back by Thanksgiving. That's what he said. Alex frozen again.
she in the North Pole recording.
Here we go.
There we go.
Well, we could use audience.
Alex, I asked if you were at the North Pole because you were frozen.
So I can hear you all.
Yeah, like we just need a stronger internet service. So what you could do, audience, is if you give us 5 stars and also subscribe to the YouTube channel. That way you were to ask for money. No, that way we can eventually become monetized. And then, at that point, then we'll have enough money to get Alex a new internet router, me a new apartment, and whatever it is Jonathan wants on his Christmas list.
I can see that.
So those things are so imbalanced. Alex gets new internet and you get a whole apartment.
I want a whole new apartment. I live in a shoebox right now.
Also, what does the apartment have to do with anything towards the podcast?
He just wants to have something for himself.
I
need to find a way to insert what I want in this conversation. That's what he did. He's like, yeah, internet's important, but like, look, Santa, if you're listening out there, new apartment would be nice.
Just find a whole lease under the tree.
It's not like we can hear your neighbors while we're recording or anything.
Weird enough, sometimes it feels like I live alone in this building. I never hear my neighbors ever. It gets kind of weird sometimes.
That's kind of the point, isn't it?
Well, no, you just hear footsteps or something and you're like, okay, there are people in their apartments. But it's so quiet. Sometimes I feel like late at night when I'm doing stuff, because I have insomnia. I stay up for long hours, sometimes during the nighttime. And I'll walk around and I feel like every step I make makes a creaking sound. Or every time it's that how at nighttime all your sounds are amplified. I feel like they can hear me. They have to hear me. They definitely heard me sneezing so loudly or saying fuck when I drop my water cup. They have to hear that stuff, right? Then I don't hear anything. I'm like, are they all just in bed by 9 and that's why I don't hear anything? I'm the only one who doesn't sleep at night. Anyway.
But yeah, he does tell him that. He does tell him that he only gets the year just to get his affairs in order. That's it.
I don't believe you.
Well, you rewatched the whole movie. Were you just not paying attention?
Jonathan doesn't remember it either.
I don't remember that part. I was just because I was confused when he said you have a year, because I remember he goes back home and that's when he starts experiencing the changes. But I was waiting for the explanation, why did he get sent back home? And I didn't hear it. So I was like, oh, it's just, you're just supposed to go with the flow.
Yeah, it's weird. He might say a variation of get your affairs in order or something, but I swear he doesn't say get your affairs. Also, that's creepy to say. Get your affairs in orders. What affairs? You're abducting me to the North Pole. Everybody's probably just going to think I'm dead. Should I do a will? Can I come back? My house, my property. I can't sell a house in a year. There's open houses, inspections. Just there's a lot to do. Do I keep that property? I mean, back in the 90s, it's best to keep a property instead of selling it, because of the housing market nowadays. There's a lot of inconsistency. Getting back to the actual movie. It kind of made you I at least remember thinking all the adults were kind of terrible, but like no, they were all actually very responsible adults.
I mean, they weren't being unreasonable. It's just the fact. It's just the Santa thing where I was like, they were like, "Wow, you're dressing as Santa now." I'm like, "Yeah, okay." And it's the Christmas season. All right, a lot of people are dressing as Santa. You don't know. Maybe I'm going to a holiday party. Secondly, you act like our son believing that I am Santa is a danger to him or his health. Like
it could be a danger to his mouth. I kind of side with them on that because it's like, all right, cool. We saw you like a week ago. Why did you gain like 130 pounds? What's up with that?
Why is your hair depressed?
Why is your hair?
Right. I'm a single dad.
Right. Nobody's asking how Scott's doing. Not a single person outside his boss was concerned about his health at all. They were just like, oh man, you gained all this. They were just like, oh, you gained all this weight. You're clearly a bad dad. No one was like, Scott, are you okay? Like, are you having a mental breakdown? What's happening?
That's true, because when I was watching some of it, I'm like, this feels like you're having a manic episode where you completely change your personality and you're just what is considered extremely happy, and like people should have been considered. That one's a fair. I'll give you that.
This is also a movie. It would have been harder to make it today versus back in the day because all Scott had to do was text a video of the North Pole and all the elves. Like, this is an elf right here.
That's what they kind of did in the Santa Claus 3.
I don't think I saw the Santa Claus 3.
You should watch it. I'm sure it's funny.
I vaguely remember it. I did not watch it.
They have all the mythical creatures, the Easter Bunny, the Tooth Fairy, Jack Frost, and everything. And Jack Frost, when he tricks Santa into kind of going backwards and never becoming Santa, so he becomes Santa. They still knock this poor man off the roof, and Jack Frost is just the one to steal Santa's jacket instead. And he turns the North Pole into like an attraction center, and people come, they take videos. You can take photos with the reindeer, you can take photos with the elves and everything like that. So he kind of does that. He ends up showing everybody in the world proof, being like, look, it's all real, I'm magical. And he exposes magic.
But yeah, I felt like it's one thing. It'd be one thing if like Charlie was older, but since he's a little kid, I'm like, you act like this isn't gonna just be a phase. He's gonna grow out of it, and then event or I guess my assumption as a parent would be he's going to grow out of it, especially once he becomes a teenager, and he'll want nothing to do with either of his parents because he'll be busy worrying about his own life. So I think it's
really a little weird to play into the delusion, because it's one thing is like, I want you to believe in Santa Claus, absolutely. I want you to think I'm Santa Claus is a whole nother like thing where it's like, no, thank you.
Well, also Scott kept being like, I'm like, they act like Scott's not on their side for majority of the movie, because every time he's just like, yeah, it's Santa. Even Scott's like, look, he's out here tripping. I'm not Santa. I don't know what he's talking about. And it's just like, and they're just like, yeah, this is all your fault, Scott. And it's just like, I'm trying to help. I'm trying to be with one of y'all. But he
goes like, I'm not Santa. And then next comes in with this big ass belly. No, I'm not Santa. He has a white ass beard and his hair is white. I'm not Santa. Fair. Why are you eating so many cookies then when you wouldn't before?
Cannot lose weight.
So it's that whole like, you are saying you're with us, but at the same time, you are fucking starting to look like Santa Claus.
That's fair. That's a fair point.
I think it was a cute movie. I think it holds up.
It does hold up. It still has the Christmas feel.
Yeah.
When I first I love movies, especially Christmas movies from this era, the 90s, because they just have that like feel good feeling, and it really takes you back to that time.
Yeah, like I was just thinking about Home Alone the other day, where I was like, even though Home Alone is very funny, very dark in a lot of ways, but at the same time, it still has that great like center piece of it's about family. Like it's about, the Christmas spirit and being with your family during the holidays. And it's great.
I don't know. I stopped spending time with my family in Christmas, and it has been fantastic. I just have pancakes alone in the morning, and I just wear fuzzy socks, and it's
I'm
great.
sure you still go see your mom or your sister at the very least.
No.
What?
On FaceTime, though.
Okay, well, maybe that counts.
FaceTime.
There we go.
That counts.
Yeah, that counts.
I don't want my mom's in Oregon, and all the roads are mostly closed by now because the snow gets so bad. And two, Christian lives in Bellevue, and I don't want to drive over the bridge.
Man, Neil is. I think it's so funny. Neil, at 3 years old, you stopped believing in Santa.
Rough childhood.
Did he ever really then believe in Santa? I feel like at 3 is when you learn about Santa.
Right.
3 years old, you're just now learning about Santa. He didn't get me what I wanted. Clearly, he's not real. But you're only 3. You still pick your nose when we're not looking. What do you mean Santa's not real? You barely developed object permanence.
He's acting like he acted like. Okay, so
Jerome.
at one, I tried to hold on, or I started believing. Okay, and then something traumatic at 2.5 happened to me, where I stopped believing, and then at 3. It solidified. I didn't believe in Santa.
Also, what were his parents doing?
Right?
Can kids fully complete sentences at 3?
Exactly.
No,
it's
fully talk.
They can make sentences. They just can't make like very like detailed sentences.
But he can say, "I want the weenie whistle."
Yeah, that's he would say it basically just like that. I want the weenie whistle.
Right, and you can make a kid at 3 believe in anything. I mean, kids are smart, but if you give them something, they will hold on to it.
Especially at 3. At 3, They are very impressionable. You could tell them the sky's purple, and they can look at it and know it's blue, and still be like, "But my dad said the sky's purple."
Exactly.
Yeah.
Even when I was like 9 or 10, I remember I went over to my cousin's house, and she had this like soap on her like dresser. And she made me believe that the soap was poisonous. Like she made me believe like 100% that the soap was poisonous. I'm like, I do not want to touch that soap. And I was like 9 or 10 years old.
Did she chase you around with it? I would have.
No, I don't think she went that far, but she was like poking it with the stick. She's like, "This is poisonous. Don't touch it." And she was so believable.
I used to do shit like that shit all the time. Just scare my cousins because it's fun. It's fun to do that. It traumatizes them, but it's fun to do it when it's not you.
Funny enough, this movie is called The Santa Claus, but the most unbelievable thing of this movie is the police presence to hunt down Charlie. I mean, this man had the whole police force out here looking for this child. The whole police force came to arrest Santa. Damn near the whole precinct.
It was Lakeside in Chicago. They got the time. It's fine. No, nothing over there. The thing that upset me, because I always called it the Santa Claus. Like, I didn't know it was the Santa Claus. That got me. Yeah, it bothered me. It was a Santa Claus. It was supposed to be just Santa Claus. I know it was the Santa Claus.
I think there is a movie that exists that's already called Santa Claus. Is why I think they called it The Santa Claus.
They fucking call it something else.
Well, no, it's called The Santa Claus because it's the Santa Claus.
Right, and it's also not in reference to him being Santa Claus. It's in reference to the Santa Claus that he has on the...
Claus with an E. Alex, you're like, I get it.
No, I keep hitting my mic, but also I know what the clause part. It's just I thought it was always just Santa Claus. Santa Claus. It's a Santa Claus movie. It was the wasn't supposed to be in the title because every time I Googled it, I just put in Santa Claus.
There's Santa Claus is coming to town. The claymation movie.
Is that the popular one?
It's
Where
it's
he
the one from like the 50s or whatever.
Yeah, it's in the same vein as like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and stuff.
Oh, okay. I
Mhm.
know which one you're talking about then. Where he's
Yeah.
like he too gets like denied being Santa, and they like try to tackle him down. He's like, "Oh, it is really Santa." I remember that
Yeah.
vaguely.
Oh,
Why
I
should
said it
we-
was from the 50s. It's from the 7. It's from 1970.
Here's a
Also, it was
question.
narrated by Fred Astaire. Sorry.
Oh, cool.
Interesting.
I know
I didn't
that.
know that.
Mhm.
Here's a question. Why are the elves children?
Because
You know what I'm saying?
Go
They're supposed to be
on.
thousands of years old.
Judy,
they're
the one
still
who brings
being-
him his hot
in
chocolate,
my-
is 1,200 years old.
Yeah, I'm like,
In
this is a
my-
little creepy that they're
in-
all children.
in my
still.
view, this is how I see it. Elves age, but they just age at a slower pace. So the younger elves might be like 5,000 years old, while Bernard, since he's an older elf, he's like 8,000 years old. So he looks older because he is older, but just it's a different pace.
You're actually right. And I saw a scene because Bernard's in the new miniseries. I kind of want to watch
Oh,
it
is
for
he?
Bernard. Yeah, I want to watch it for Bernard.
Yeah, all the
Is-
cast
is-
comes back for the
is-
mini-series.
Even the son.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I haven't watched the miniseries, but I've seen Bernard, and like I said, he was one of my first crushes. I always thought he was so cute. He comes back, but he's aged. And then Tim Allen's Santa Claus. I don't know what I was gonna say. Tim Allen's character. We all know who Tim Allen's character is. Santa Claus is like, it's weird to see you because you look like an old man now. You know, but you still like have the ears and everything. He's like, well, I moved away from the North Pole. I moved away from the magic. He's like, so I started aging like a human.
Oh, that's their
So
explanation.
yeah, so he started aging like a human, and he's like, I got married. His wife is like 65 years old, and he's actually like 9,000 or something. And he's like, I know it's a bit of an age difference, but we make it work. But that's exactly the thing, that it's they moved away from the North Pole, so they left the magic behind. So you are right that they age just a lot slower.
It's just,
I think that's how it works with all elves. Lord of the Rings and everything. They age like very slowly.
Right.
yeah. I just
An
yeah,
elf
it's
thing.
it's weird. Also, David Krumholtz is very like, is he that short? Or did they just
Yeah.
do camera tricks to make him look that short?
No,
Because
he's
you never
not
see his
short.
feet.
You never
Except
see
for,
any
like,
of their feet. They keep the camera angle up.
Yeah, so it's like, they could just have him like kneeling down or something, or on like a lower stage, so when he walks, it looks like he's shorter than they are by a lot.
I think he's just that short.
Hmm.
I don't know why they would go through all that effort to make him shorter.
I mean, that's what they did for Lord of the Rings. Like, they didn't use CG to make Elijah Wood and Sean Astin like shorter. They just used camera tricks to make them look shorter than Gandalf.
No, I think he's actually just that short. Because he's short. I think he's just that short.
Well,
It's interesting.
cool.
It's I could be an elf. I'm short. I would be a tall elf. Taller
I was
elf.
gonna say, I think elves are like 4 feet and under. Well, actually, no, because there were taller elves.
I don't know.
In the movies, yeah, going forward, they got taller elves.
They did, yeah. Well, because they got tired of like trying to do, got tired trying to find shorter people. They're just like, man, screw it. Just...
And in movies like this, it's always like there's usually a line where a character's like, yeah, you know the stereotypical like the stereotypical like look of elves where we're short and have like there's usually a line like where
like, of course,
where they
you
have
think
to
we
explain,
look like that, yeah,
right, where they have to explain why the elves don't look like this or why this character doesn't look like this.
Well, you know what it is that was weird about the elves being kids thing for me is that it's just like the kid in me is like, I get
Child
it.
labor.
Well, no, not really. I don't really care about that as much. But the idea, because the idea is that they're supposed to be cute and small, and since children naturally are just cute and small, it's just hire children, and it'll be adorable. And for a lot of these kids, it'll be like their first acting gig, and they'll have fun, and they just get to play around and enjoy candy, all that stuff. But I'm like, okay, but Judy, when he's like, oh, you look great for your age, she's like, oh, I'm actually seeing somebody and whatever. I'm like, I'm sorry, are these children looking elves? You expect me to understand that they're not only dating, like understand the concept of dating, but they are in committed relationships? Once you pull that thread, you're gonna start adding questions you don't want the answers to.
You want them to stay alone for that many years?
No, I just don't want to think about the fact of childlike elves doing other adult things in relationships when they look like children and sound like them too. It's like they're not adults. It's creepy and weird.
I see your point, but I wish not to stay on your point.
You see what I mean?
Same. I did not think of that, and I prefer not to continue thinking about it. So let's move on.
You know what I remembered from that whole scene? When Tim Allen took off his pants and the little puppet scremed.
Oh,
when he took off his,
I remember that too. I remember that
too. That's what I remember from that scene.
I remember I always laughed at that.
And the hot chocolate too. I always wanted her hot chocolate.
Yeah, where he's her hot chocolate recipe is like bomb. I don't know what it is, but she's got it. She's got it on lock.
Mm-hmm. And the mug too. The mug was so cool looking. I like the Santa suit.
They don't sell those at Disney.
They should.
They probably once did. But I love the Santa suit too. Can we talk about how nice it was? The embroidery and everything was beautiful, and it looks so much nicer than the Santa suit he was brought in, because the Santa suit he was brought in did not have the beautiful embroidery, did not have the gold on it either. It was just a red suit.
They probably hated the previous Santa.
I could see that. They did not protect him the way they protected this Santa Claus.
They probably did, because they actually, I started to watch Santa Claus 2, and literally, because the whole thing is he's de-Santifying because he has to find a wife and stuff. When he's in the meeting with the other magical beings like Easter Bunny or whatever, they're like, man, Santa, you've been the best Santa there ever was since the last one. I'm like, what are y'all trying to say? What, did y'all hate the last Santa? Was the last Santa a bastard or something? What are you?
Maybe they're also nonchalant. They're like, oh, you put on the suit, you're Santa. Oh well, c'est la vie. It's no, there's not a mourning period. Take a month off, wear black, something for this man.
Also, I remember when I watched this when I was younger, thinking, this guy murdered Santa Claus. I feel like that's how it was approached. I don't know, the marketing or something. It was he murdered Santa Claus. All he did was go outside, look on the roof, see that there was a strange man on the roof, and say, "Hey, you there?" And then he had a seizure or something and fell off the roof. Because in any normal world, you would shout at somebody who was standing on top of your roof, "Hey, you there?" I would do that.
That wouldn't even be manslaughter. That would just be an accident.
Right.
I do like the where he says he's like, where is this man now? He's running around town butt naked. He's like, this man's running around butt naked.
I don't know why, but I love the Denny scene though the most. When she's just like, I was like, Dad burned the turkey. Oh, okay. And then there's just, if you notice, every table, not just the one where it's the gag joke, every table is a grown man and kids. So I'm like, is this the section of all the dads who got their kids for the weekend and messed up dinner?
So I never realized how is that product placement. I didn't think about it with Denny's until I was talking to my mom in the car, literally an hour before this. I was talking to her, and I was like, yeah, they go to Denny's, which I always thought was a little weird. I'm like, and then I realized they try to go to another restaurant first. I'm like, it's Christmas Eve at like 9 at night. They're trying to go to this nice restaurant. He's like, oh, they're closed. You know where we could go? Denny's. They're always open.
Always open.
Right.
Denny's.
So now,
and it's American staple food chain. And I was like, you motherfucker, that was advertising you placed in there. I never, literally not till like an hour ago. Not like, yeah.
He looks at that other dad. He's just like, did you burn the turkey? Puts his hand up. It's all burned. I'm like, I feel like it is. He's like, you damn right I burned the turkey. What you think I wanted to come to Denny's on Christmas Eve? I expected to have a home cooked meal.
Also, it's not that, like, you could have planned so much better. Again, I was talking to my mom, and she was like, before I think I was 7, she never cooked Thanksgiving or Christmas or whatever. And she was like, you know what I did? She's like, Jules. It's a grocery store up in the Midwest, Jules Oscars. She's like, they had a package deal. You get a turkey, you get stuffing, you get sides, and they give you a pie. She's like, for $39.99, a whole feast in a box.
Dang.
And I was like, we have that at Fred Meyer, or they used to. I don't know if they still do it. And she's like, yeah. She's like, I never had to cook a damn thing. And I was like, see, he could have simply done that. I'm like, also, how do you burn a turkey? How is a turkey flammable? I don't understand how people are doing that. That's just a whole
maybe
thing.
maybe left it
Alex,
in
this
too
is a
long.
movie in the 90s, all right? Men aren't allowed to cook. Everybody knows only women can cook, apparently.
Yeah, and then they always try to cook a very complicated thing. I can cook a turkey.
I love how they do the
night.
fake out for that scene. I love how they do the fake out of, you see the TV, you see what's on the TV, and it's like a nice meal, and then it pans back, and you realize that it's actually a TV, and the actual dinner table is not as good looking.
Yeah, everything's burned.
It's
terrible.
I saw a TikTok where they were talking about Thanksgiving dinner, and the guy is like, the way he's eating the biscuit is kind of like munching on it, and they're like, his sister burned the biscuits, but nobody wants to tell her. They don't want to make her feel bad. So they're eating all the unburned parts, and he shows the bottom. It's all like black and charred. He's trying so hard just to pick off what was in the middle or something.
Wouldn't the sister know that she burned it, though?
You can smell it.
Right. And see it.
I think they didn't want to make her feel bad.
Oh.
Because
in that case, I feel like you just
burnt stuff, you're just like, no, it's fine. It's just a little burnt. It's okay.
Right. Or you make a joke out of it, like, you burning these biscuits, whatever. Let's just eat the rest.
Yeah, but you don't. You still have to eat some of it, or they're gonna feel bad. Like, oh, I burnt them, and they're so no, it's fine. Like, yeah, you burnt them, ha ha ha. But we'll still eat them, and it is just like, I'm tasting ash in my mouth now, thanks to you.
I'm thinking about, like, I don't know. I did not like Charlie for a large part of the movie, and it's not because of the obvious stuff. It's because I'm like, immediately he's just like, I don't want to be at Dad's for Christmas Eve, and I'm like, okay, but why? And we never get the answer. They make it seem like he's like the worst dad
abusive
ever,
or something. Yeah,
but how? Granted, no, he cannot cook. He doesn't seem like the most attentive dad. But he doesn't seem like an awful dad that you're like, I don't want to be a dad for Christmas Eve. And the only time Charlie cares to spend time with his dad is when he knows he's Santa Claus. I'm like, this is a selfish kid. He only wants to hang out with Scott, not because he likes his dad. It's because his dad has a cool job. His dad's worth something now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, his dad had a pretty cool job beforehand. He worked for a toy company still.
And Scott and Charlie could care less. Even in Parents' Day, he lets Scott come up. Does he tell them, my dad works at a toy factory? He's like, no, my dad's Santa Claus. He don't care that he worked at a toy factory.
And his dad is doing well too, because he got like that award at the Christmas party.
He's also living in a nice neighborhood in a nice house. Like,
right. I'm like, you act like your dad's like the devil or something, or your dad sucks. Like, he's not a bad dad. He's just a boring dad. I think
it's more like, okay, they're going to family. So he's like, I could be around family members with good food, or with my single dad who can't cook and who is also 5 hours late. And I just want to drink. And he was like, I just want chocolate milk. And they keep giving him plain milk.
That's not his fault. He didn't know
what that is?
Have chocolate milk.
That is a first world problem. Charlie needs to realize
that's
that
true.
sometimes
some
you can't
children
get chocolate milk.
There are some children in this country who on their Christmas Eve are spending it in a bomb shelter, Charlie. Okay? So don't talk to me about your struggles at
Exactly.
Denny's.
You know what's fucked up? That's probably true.
It
Especially
is
now
though.
in age, yeah.
Scott Calvin should have taken Charlie on Christmas Eve to the homeless shelter or to the soup kitchen so they could feed some homeless people, and so he could realize that sometimes you can't get chocolate milk. Okay, sometimes you just have to get what you're given. All right.
Funny enough though, the one thing I will give Charlie though, where's the presents? Because if Scott doesn't believe in Santa at the beginning of this movie, that implies that he obviously has bought Charlie like a Christmas present or something. But we don't see not only a Christmas tree, but also Scott put anything under the tree for Charlie. Did he get him a Christmas present?
Probably.
He was gonna.
I can only assume.
Maybe that's why, because maybe Charlie knew that his dad was one of those parents that was gonna go to the one store that was open on Christmas Day.
Go to the Walgreens.
He couldn't even remember what restaurants were open on Christmas Day.
Go to the Walgreens real quick, get whatever's on the toy shelf.
Exactly.
Left.
I'm literally gonna watch that scene back. I don't believe he says get your Ferris orders.
When you watch it and he
thinking
says
about
that,
I have watched it.
Say? No, when you watch it again for real and just be paying attention.
Be like, I still don't believe it. Anyway,
man.
I will say the Santa Claus movie does put you in a nice like Christmas movie.
It does.
Like,
it does.
It's a nice feel good movie because especially when you're watching it as an adult and you realize the characters are not, none of them are actually the bad guy. None of them.
Right.
Not even Neil. Neil's
actually a great guy. He's a very supportive man. He doesn't get in the way of his stepson and the father. Like, he's not vindictive or anything. He cares about Scott in his own way. And like, he cares so much about Charlie. So it's like all of these people are really like good people. And it's like,
there's no real villains in this movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Other than the old Santa, apparently.
I mean, they want you to cut.
Something happened with that fucker.
I mean, they want Neil and Laura to kind of be the not villains, but like antagonists of the story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I would say Laura is a little more reasonable, at least. Although I think she's very quick to just assume Scott's just like doing terrible. That's what I'm saying. It's almost like there's this whole history with Scott where he's been a terrible person, but because we don't get to see any of that. You just feel like it's like, why are y'all being so mean to this man?
It's
like
true.
y'all are just
show don't tell. Show don't tell.
Well, you can't show why people get divorced in Disney films. They're just divorced.
There are flashbacks. We could do a flashback. I mean,
that's true. We could have had one flashback to show how bad Scott was, or just one piece of dialogue to just be like, Scott, you were a terrible husband. Okay,
well, see,
you were never there.
No,
you were never
it was
around.
straight at the beginning.
You know what I mean?
Where he was like already late to go to meet his son, and it was like, well, nobody was surprised. They were just like, "Are you fucking here or no, man?" And like, so that already was a clear sign.
As soon as they got to his house, like right on time.
No, they were already sitting in the car. They were waiting for him.
Oh, I see. Gotcha.
Yeah. So it's, there's that whole, you clearly were putting work before us again. Like, you were supposed to have this child for 3 years ago.
I was not putting work before you. I was putting a Christmas party before you. I wasn't doing any work. I was enjoying myself, having a good time.
I went to my first work party. It was fun. Like last weekend.
Work parties can be fun. You know what I mean?
I'm surprised we never had one at IMAX. We never had like an official Christmas party.
They didn't have the money, I think.
That's true.
In the budget.
We could have just thrown some popcorn and,
we already did that.
And besides, we were all friends anyway. We had our own work parties just without the rest of the staff.
That's actually very true. We'd all just hang out. But yeah, it was the first time I went to a work party. A lot of people knew me and I didn't remember their names, and I felt super bad. Because I'm not good with names. I recognize you, I just don't recognize, like, can't put your name to your face.
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of people hugged me. I have only been there for 6 months. It was a little weird to have people so affectionate towards me, and I'm like, okay, sure, let's hug. I guess that's a normal responsive thing to a coworker. But it was very nice, and I got a little tipsy. So they made a Moscow Mule with gin, and it was fantastic. Never had it with gin; it was great. But anyway, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say you're right. It does put you in a very Christmassy mood,
Mm-hmm.
especially just because it ends very nicely. You know, it ends in a very heartwarming way where he, you know, all the kids get to see him fly away on the reindeer, and it's very inspiring and stuff.
Yeah. Quickly to I guess we're kind of wrapping up, but instead of doing like an official rating, how about we do our top 3 Christmas movies?
I have to look up a list.
Jerome,
of
go.
Christmas movies, Home
Or
Alone.
holiday movies.
Like Home Alone for sure is up there. Number one Christmas movie is A Year Without a Santa Claus. Love that film. It's great, especially, you know, Heat Miser. Like, he's Mr. White Christmas, he's Mr. Snow. Do 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 do. Like, I love that movie. It's timeless. And number three.
You can count
probably
specials as well.
Well, yeah, and there's no specials for me, like Christmas specials that are up there. Also, shout out to the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special, though. It's actually pretty decent. It's pretty okay. So that's also on Disney Plus. So if you want to watch something new for Christmas, you got the Santa Clauses and Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special.
And you'll see my job in
it. Number 3, number 3 is a hard one because it's tied between a lot of movies. The Santa Claus being one of them. Oh no,
go to 5.
Number three would be This Christmas. Yeah, I would say This Christmas with Chris Brown and
I was
stuff.
just thinking that the one.
That's a really great movie. Yeah, I mean, I could go to number 5 because number 4 would be Home Alone 2, and then number 5 would probably be like the Santa Claus.
Just throwing it all the way down there. What about you, Jonathan?
I would say number 1 is probably The Polar Express. I just have such an attachment to that film, like such good memories with that film. Number 2 would probably be Home Alone. Number 3, actually, number 2 would probably be Home Alone 2. Number 3 would probably be Home Alone. Number 4, I would have to say Frosty the Snowman.
The cartoon?
And number 5.
Oh, we're doing 5 now.
Number 5. It's a toss between. It's a toss between 3. I'll just name the 3 and then I'll choose one. Toss between Santa Claus, Elf, and 'Twas the Night, the Disney Channel original movie, with Bryan Cranston. But because I couldn't remember the name of the movie a couple weeks ago, 'Twas the Night is gonna have to go, and I'm gonna have to say Elf.
I don't like Elf. I really dislike that movie.
Elf is very low on the list for me, not because I don't like it. It's because it's like there's so many. A lot of it relies on the same Will Ferrell humor that I'm like I like, but I don't love. You know what I mean?
I've also seen the musical.
Keeps giving me a dirty look still. Like, you put your smile back on, but you were still kind of like looking at me questionably.
I've also seen the musical. The musical is good as well. I really like the musical.
Oh yeah, I forgot they made a musical about it.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it would have to be. I like the Grinch, the Jim Carrey version, of course.
I was just thinking about that. I was like, I didn't say the cartoon movie The Grinch, and that would probably dethrone one of my like 4. The one that's 4 or 5 probably is The Grinch, the original.
I have an honorable mention. I'm sorry.
Go.
Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen that cartoon in a long time.
Wow, well, that was a shot back to old time. That was like a forgotten memory right there. All of it, the whole movie just came back really quick in my brain.
Sorry, continue, Alex.
No, you're good. So the Grinch Stole Christmas, the Jim Carrey version. I like Noel. It's on Disney Plus.
I watched that. It came out in 2020, I think, right?
Yeah, it was so much cuter than I had anticipated.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to think of other movies. Hold on. The Santa Claus movie is actually one of my favorites now that I've rewatched it, because I was like, this is so cute, this is adorable, and I actually really do like it. And and it, like I said, it puts me in a Christmas mood, because I'm not a big Christmas movie person. I always like, they've never been my favorite. But something like this is definitely just like adorable to me. So I only really have 3 that I'm willing to put up with at most. I'll watch others. I will say a horrible honorable mention is The Right
Violent Night?
Before Christmas. Nope. It is a movie with Chad Michael Murray. It is awful.
What is it called?
Awful. Right. WRIT Before Christmas.
What's the movie with Chad Michael Murray that just got released on Netflix where he's supposed to be ice skating, but you can clearly tell that he's
Before
walking?
Christmas.
Oh, okay.
It was filmed in 2019, but it's just been available on Netflix, and I rewatched it. He is not even trying, and like the green screen is like proper like old school green screen where you're like, you kept it to a budget, man. You properly kept a budget. So the movie is Jessica gets dumped before Christmas. She sends 5 Christmas cards affecting her BFF, brother, and pop star, and a past music cello teacher, meeting her single photographer son. And it is just such. I rewatched it because it's a Hallmark film. I watched it back when it was already coming out. It was bad. It's even worse now. God, is it even worse now? But I like Chad Michael Murray. He's funny. I like him.
I was going to say some honorable mentions. These are movies that you should not watch with your children, but these are Christmas movies that I think are good
Bad
to
Santa.
watch for different reasons. No. Although, I mean, Bad Santa is a funny movie, but no.
Sorry, before you get into that, I have one more honorable mention. I'm sorry, I interrupted Alex, so I have to interrupt Jerome.
That's fair. It's reasonable.
Fair. The Drake and Josh Christmas special.
I don't even remember.
Did you guys ever watch that?
I mean, I probably did. I just don't remember.
It came out like a couple years after the show officially ended. So it was a couple years later, but it's an amazing movie. It's classic. What is it called? Drake and Josh Christmas. Merry Christmas, Drake and Josh from 2008. And it's the movie. It's the only movie that Drake and Josh had.
You say that, but you have a bias. You like all of those sitcoms movies.
No, listen. I'm literally on the Wikipedia right now. The movie aired on Nickelodeon a year after the show's original ended in 2007. It was the 3rd most viewed TV movie on cable, behind High School Musical 2 and Wizards of Waverly Place the movie.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I'm surprised neither of you have seen it.
I feel like I probably have seen it.
I probably didn't because I stopped watching Drake and Josh after the show ended.
Well,
I feel like it's something I have watched, but I just don't recall it. Another horrible honorable mention is a Christmas Prince. They also had a Christmas Prince wedding, and then the Christmas Prince, the Royal Baby.
Interesting.
So it's 3 series. It's a 3 movie thing. Go. What were you?
I was gonna say Happiest Season on Hulu, which is great. Stars Kristen Stewart and I forget her name, Mackenzie something, but she's great too. It's a great movie, especially for the LGBT community out there. If you want a Christmas movie to watch for the season, it's great. Just rom-com Christmas movie about a lesbian couple, and it's great. Krampus, for all my horror fans out there, if you want to watch a horror Christmas movie, Krampus isn't the best one, but it is like the most recent one, I would say.
My mom, the most recent one I think is Violent Night now.
Violent Night's not a horror movie, it's an action movie.
I want to watch it. I do want to watch it.
It's a little bit of horror.
No, it's not.
Murdering people dressed in Santa is gonna fuck up some people.
Okay, you
when
act like
Krampus
Santa's
came
murdering
out,
people just because it's like he's being
he
attacked
might.
by criminals.
When Krampus came out, my mom was actually super excited because like I said, I'm not a fan of Christmas movies. Kind of hate them sometimes, but she loves Christmas movies, and she's like, "Oh, you love horror films?" She's like, "Look, it's finally a movie for us." She's like, "You get a horrible monster, and I get Christmas carols."
Didn't we watch that together, you and me?
Krampus?
Yeah.
No, that came out.
And I watched it in theaters with somebody.
That was not. That came out quite a. I don't know.
It came out a while ago, but I remember
is
I
also
watched
an
it in theaters, but
illusion
I don't
to me.
remember who I was watching it with.
Not with me, because I watched it with my mom because she was super excited about it.
Okay. And then my last one is this Christmas. Or not this Christmas. About Christmas. That movie with like so many stars. It's called About Christmas, right? Am I
Did they ever do a Christmas movie? Because we were talking about like the Valentine's Day movie, New Year's Eve, which we're gonna do
There's
a
a
little
Mother's
special
Day
on.
one.
Sorry. No.
But did they ever
Love
do a
Love
Christmas
Actually.
thing?
Sorry, Love Actually is what I was referring to.
Oh, I was about to say,
Those
okay,
titles weren't even close, man. That's
Completely,
like bad. Are you
off.
okay? Are you
About
okay?
Christmas.
Name
Jerome just
someone
made
who's
his
been
next
talking about Love
About
Actually.
Christmas.
Jerome just titled his next movie.
That's
There
right.
we
I'll
go.
make the
About
movie. Damn
Christmas.
it! About Christmas coming out next Christmas season, 2023, starring your boy and Taylor Swift. Me and her making a movie together.
Honestly, you could probably get Hallmark to back you. They'll back any Christmas movie.
Mm-hmm. Or Netflix. I feel like Netflix been in the Christmas game.
No, yeah. That's where you can find the Christmas Prince, the royal baby.
Be on the lookout for me and T Sweezy next Christmas.
Yes.
All movies together.
Speaking of Netflix, my last honorable mention, I promise, is Dash and Lily. It's a series that came out in 2020, and it's about these two teenagers who live in New York, and they're trading messages during like Christmas time through this book that they keep passing. They keep like handing to each other in a bookstore. It's really cute. It's adorable, and it'll put you in the Christmas season. And Austin Abrams is in it. He's from Euphoria. He plays Ethan, Kat's boyfriend in Euphoria, and he's good in it. And the series is enjoyable.
The Princess Switched on Netflix with Vanessa Hudgens.
Vanessa, I knew you were gonna mention the one Vanessa Hudgens.
I like it. I like that one. It's got beautiful dresses. She's a clumsy baker who swaps lives with the princess and falls in love with the prince.
Mm-hmm.
Which,
yep. And then they do a third one where they find there's a third Vanessa Hudgens somewhere, or a second one.
A second one, the Princess Switch, the Switch again. It's literally called the Princess Switch Switched Again.
Well,
they're not very crafty on their titles. I will.
No, they're not.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, there you go. There's some Christmas recommendations for you to go check out for your Christmas season. Socials.
You can find me at Jonathan Keys on Twitter, Instagram, wherever you please. I remembered that. You can follow us at The First Ones to Die on. Now I got so excited that I remembered my social that I forgot all the rest.
You remembered your line,
right? You can follow us at The First Ones to Die on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, wherever. You can email us firstones2die@gmail.com. We'd love to hear your messages, how you're feeling, what your thoughts are about the show, any suggestions, and any other commentary. Alex, where can people find you at?
You can find me at Alex and Nobody on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Mostly on Instagram or TikTok. I don't know what's going on Twitter anymore. That's been a month since we've been gone, and yeah. Anyway, you can also find the podcast on TikTok, The First Ones to Die, where I post little clips of episodes, things to come, and just random shit of me being bored sometimes as well. And where can we find you, Jerome?
You can find me at Not Jerome Red on Instagram, as well as at RoboZooMedia and at Jerome_the_show to see all the other stuff we're doing. And there you go.
Yeah. Yes. Next week, be tuned in for our Avatar The Way of Water review.
That movie's
We'll
gonna be so
see.
long.
We're gonna talk about
Yes.
talk about this water.
Let's see which way the water goes.
Was the water a
See if they
big
can-
deal?
Yes,
When-
that's literally what, according to James Cameron, that's what stopped him from making this sequel. Is he wanted to wait till the water could look right, so he really wanted the water to look good, and
I
it
don't
does.
remember.
I'll
I
give him
barely
to his
remember.
credit.
I barely remember anything that happened in the first one, so we'll see. And I ain't watching the first one
fell
again.
asleep.
We'll
I mean,
see.
you can watch it on
how-
Disney Plus right now for free if you have a Disney Plus account.
Is it on Disney Plus?
Yeah, because Disney owns Fox, who owns Avatar.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, they have the whole Avatar land at Disney World.
that too. Yeah.
But Alex, sorry, before we wrap or before we head out, or before we sign off, when we were scheduling what time we were going to meet today, and you said, can we do Wednesday? I've already seen it. Or can we do Wednesday? Me and Jerome, you guys are watching Avatar on Thursday. And then I thought, and then you said something like, I've already seen it. And you were referring to the Santa Claus, but I thought you were referring to Avatar. And I'm like, how did she see Avatar already? Did she get like a sneak peek or like?
I like to sneak into things. I'm very for being chubby. I'm very quiet when I walk. You never hear me coming, and I just slide into things. And those press previews are not that hard to sneak into.
They had the premiere here the other day, and it was a blue carpet, of course. And I had to like walk past security as I was getting off work because I had to walk to my car, and like it was in the garage, and I had to walk like through. I had to like take my stuff out my pockets. I'm like, I'm just going to my car, but they made me walk the security.
We're definitely gonna cut a lot of this.
Okay, thanks. All right, thanks for telling me my story's not
really
interesting.
quick.
All right.
That's rude. That's
it
rude.
feels like we've gone into a whole other podcast all of a sudden.
We have this
Also-
is literally probably our shortest podcast in the past like 9 months, and now you're talking about cutting stuff.
What are you talking about? It's been over an hour and a half.
No, mine says an hour and 22 minutes.
That's close enough.
Also,
Our average is an hour and a half.
really quick, Jerome is right. He does say he can get his affairs in orders. I was just around the 34 minute and 5 second mark. He does say you have 11 months to go back and get your affairs in orders.
Why would you
And
do this
you're due
on the
back here at
podcast? You're
Thanksgiving.
supposed to let us forget about it, and then or do it in private and be like, "Oh, he was
I
right," but
appreciate
never
it.
bring it up
Do it in
again.
private. You do this stuff in private.
I
You
appreciate
proved-
being
You
proven right
proved
and,
Jerome off.
immediately.
I mean, honestly, I'm probably am gonna cut this from the podcast just out of spite, out of pure spite.
You forget I edit the audio version. It's going to live on.
Voices can be manipulated, but yeah, I will give him that. He's barely due back in Thanksgiving, so that's just interrupting one holiday for another. That's rude.
But I don't think he goes back for Thanksgiving because he doesn't go back till Christmas.
He doesn't go back till Christmas Eve. They don't call him back until Christmas Eve. Also, Bernard is so cute. That man is like that's not a good stop of him right there. But
Anyway, Merry Christmas.
who did?
Yeah, anyway, Merry Christmas. Hope you have a great time, guys. We'll catch you later. And bye.
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 Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, whatever.